everybody, and welcome back to the Goldbridge Saves Football podcast, where we're going to be talking about the Manchester City Premier League title sham. We've got lots to talk about, Will, but I'm going to hit it from the start here. This Premier League title race is a sham, but not for the reasons some might predict. Can you guess any reasons I might be saying it's a sham? And I bet you won't guess it.
VAR?
No.
Manchester City and 115?
No.
Manchester United's ineptitude to challenge for a title over the last 13 seasons?
No, and that would be completely and utterly irrelevant, you shit-stirring twat. Let's get into it. Can I just say last week as well was our best ever week on the podcast. 2 cracking episodes. Make sure you keep spreading the word. Goldbridge Saves Football. This is how we're going to grow organically, just the same as the United stand, and that's football. No big budgets here, just a community ready to talk about football. Get your comments in. No, the reason Man City's title race is a sham, Will, is I was looking at it and I think that, and I don't blame Man City for this. So there'll be all the Man City bitches going, we're not gonna, it's Man City again, it's Man City again. I don't blame Man City for this, apart from the fact they've just got no personality that other clubs actually fear. And what I mean is, this title race is actually very interesting. As we record this, Man City will play Spurs tomorrow, and if Spurs get a result, then Arsenal could win the league. And there endeth the lesson. It's a sham because if you look at the last few weeks, Man City against Aston Villa rest players because they've got bigger fish to fry. 2 weeks later, in the middle of 2 massive European ties, Aston Villa go to Arsenal and put a strong team out and win. Man City go to Spurs. Spurs are thinking, I know we could get Champions League football, which we never fucking get, but we mustn't let Arsenal win the league. And I think that is something that Man City benefit from all the time because for some reason, teams don't value the Man City threat as much as they do these Arsenal rivalries or Man United rivalries. And I was thinking about it over the weekend and I thought, Arsenal are going to lose this title if they do lose it, by maybe 2 points. And maybe there are VAR decisions out there that people can look at, from Michael Oliver with the Doku penalty or the push in the back on Gabriel. But I can think of 2 games in the last few weeks where Man City have basically been handed 6 points. And that's not their fault. They haven't bought them. But Arsenal have played Villa and had to play a good Villa team and they lost. Man City didn't, because Villa sort of looked at it and went, we've got a game at the weekend that's more important. And now we've got this Spurs situation where Spurs are basically being advised by their fans to let Man City win. And Man United played Arsenal yesterday. And of course, I don't want Man City to win the league, but my attitude is, don't give a shit. Like, I wanted Man United to beat Arsenal, even though I want Arsenal to win the league, because I'm sort of like, I don't really care about that. But it just feels like, from Man City's point of view, this has been going on for years. There's been loads of examples of this. And I don't know, is it just because they've got recent success that they haven't built up those massive rivalries where teams actually really care?
What? So you're saying, but when it comes to Tottenham on Tuesday, as of recording, if Liverpool win their game against Aston Villa, then I think that takes all of that off the table anyway. Do
you think?
Yeah, because Tottenham will want to, but Tottenham have got a chance for Champions League football.
But honestly, mate, they're not. They're going, I would rather play in the Europa League.
No, but that's the fans. Like we were talking off air as well. Like how many players in that Tottenham Hotspur team are actually fans? Like you gave me the example the other week. If Villa were going for it and Birmingham could stop, I'd want that. But even in the level that we're at, there's not that many players, maybe some of the youngsters, that are actually fans in playing in the team. So you used the example at the weekend of Kenny Dalglish going for the title with Blackburn and obviously facing Liverpool, and Liverpool hating Man United. And back then there was probably more players in that Liverpool team that were used to the rivalry. And then it probably goes back to a bigger point as well that we spoke about with pundits. Like they're so, players and fans are not alike. There's not very many. There's not that real crossover that you used to have, like in terms of when you're watching footballers back in the day. There was a real representation of like, that could be me, where is because of the nature of the game, the amount of money in it, that's so different now. And I don't think the Spurs players will be thinking about themselves and the team in terms of competitive football, Champions League football. So I really don't agree with that. And I think if Liverpool win tonight, that's the best thing for the title race.
It's not even a win, is it? A draw. It's fine.
Yeah. I just think if they go into that game with Champions League football on the line, they've got to go for it.
Well, I was thinking about it. If it was Man United against, let's say Man United against Spurs tomorrow night, and if we win the game, we get Champions League football or a chance at Champions League football, but that means Liverpool will win the league, our biggest rival. Would I be sat there going, Do I want the chance at Champions League, or do I want to stop Liverpool winning the league? And I'm like, we were talking about this off air with Niall. To me, this is a lot like, your dream girl in our situation, although some of you might like a dream boy. That's fine. And it'd be like going, well, look, there's my dream girl who's never going to go out with me, and there's my enemy who is going to get a date with her. I'm going to spend my life going, I don't want them to have a date, even though she won't have a date with me. It's like, get in lane, just focus on yourself. Spurs fans, surely Spurs want to compete with Arsenal. That's the whole point of the rivalry.
But where you get, I think they do. Like the fans don't want Arsenal to win the title, right?
But they're doing it at the expense of the Champions League.
No, but what I'm saying is this doesn't
just bitter.
This is not going to correlate to big Ange. This isn't going to correlate to human.
I know, but it shouldn't be. What I'm saying is we're about the fans. We're here to say football.
Yeah.
In the conversation we're having, and you're right. Footballers are not in touch with the fans. But as a football fan, I had this yesterday with Man United and Arsenal. I wanted Man United to win, even though a few weeks ago I'd have gone, if we can stop Man City winning the league, I'll let Arsenal beat us. But then in the context of, I want Ten-Hag to stay in his job, I want United and Ineos to build something, I was like, I don't want to get beat 3 or 4-0 to help Arsenal out. So I think from a Spurs point of view, I get the rivalry, and that's what football's all about. It's fantastic. But if you've got a shot, I mean, it's very different if Villa beat Liverpool, of course, and we don't know the result, and many of you will, but let's pretend Villa have drawn or lost to Liverpool. Then Villa have got to go to Palace at the weekend. Palace are playing very, very well. I'd expect them to win. Therefore, if Spurs beat Man City and win their last game, you've got Champions League football.
Yeah.
How can you sit there as a Spurs fan and say, I'd rather not have Champions League football to stop Arsenal winning the league? It's like, Spurs have got an amazing stadium. They've got an exciting brand of football. It's only year one under Ange. If you get in the Champions League, the revenue and aura of that, in 2 or 3 years, you might be competing with Arsenal. Or do you want to just stop Arsenal this year? Because Arsenal might win it next year, and you might not have any say in it.
But also, in these things, it's always going to be the vocal minority. Like what we're taking the straw poll off people that we've seen on Twitter, basically, aren't we? And the noise that comes from that. And you're not going to get a level-headed fan who's just knows he wants Champions League football, wants Spurs to win, tweeting that. Because one, you're getting engagement, and 2, you probably ain't that bothered to tweet it. 3, you probably haven't even got it on your phone.
It is a hard one to get your head around, but I personally think when you're in that game and you're watching your team, it's very hard to want your team to lose anyway. And also, if you've got that carrot of the Champions League, it's so big for Spurs. I've seen Man City win a treble. I never thought I'd see anybody win a treble. And I don't think the integrity of that treble matches up to ours, but it's there in history. And it was horrible at the time. But a year on, I'm sat there going, I don't really value that treble as much as ours.
Do you think there'll be an Amazon Prime? Oh no, there already was a Netflix documentary that they turned around on the treble for Manchester City. Do you think they'll have a retrospective 25-year anniversary one that like the treble is on Amazon Prime coming out?
Well, they might do because they need content, but ultimately the Man United one is way, way better. But look, you have to live with it. And also, what I would say, in fairness to Man City, Man United and the Glazers contributed to that. You can't just be a bitch. You can't just sit there being bitter, going, I hope they lose, I hope they lose, I hope they lose. You got to look at why you're not winning. And I think that...
Well, I was almost thinking that ties into like bigger things as well of like, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're excluded from this. But Harry Kane not winning a title in Germany, I don't know if it's a British thing, but there was just like a big pile on him straight away, like, wait, you've still not won a trophy. And it's like, I sort of get it, but... And I'm not going all the way to be American and get the being positive about everything, but it's just very weird. And I do it myself of like just celebrating someone for having a terrible season. Yeah. And he scored so many goals, but he hasn't won a trophy. And it's like, you loser. You're a loser for life now.
There is an icing on the cake. I mean, look, me and my mate used to do it all the time when I lived in Ireland. Like, United would be very good. And you'd be sat there at the end of the season going, we've won another Premier League. And then as you got another pint in, you'd be going, and look at Liverpool. It's like an icing on the cake. And that rivalry is important. But I think, look, let us know in the comments. Very interested. Where do you stand on this? If you are Spurs... and you've got a chance of the Champions League, but if you win, you're handing the title to Arsenal, what do you do? Because it's one of those dilemmas. I'm not saying 100% of people should be wanting to try and get in the Champions League. I'm just saying, I think you've got to look at, are you going to live your life hoping somebody else fails while you fail? Or are you going to look at it and go, let them have that. We're trying to build something to compete with them. Because in 2 or 3 years, Spurs should not be trying to stop Arsenal winning the league. They should be trying to win the league themselves. And I think that the Champions League might not be there for Spurs next year if Chelsea, United and Newcastle get their act into gear. So getting in that Champions League now, attracting different types of players with the money that they've still got from Harry Kane, this is a massive summer for Spurs, and Champions League football will enhance that.
But also, it was quite interesting. Big Andrew speaking about the when the Champions League was definitely more on the line a couple of weeks ago and it looked more certain, and they were speaking about the players that they wanted to attract. But he was like, categorically, he was like, I don't want to attract players that want to be here just for Champions League football. I want to attract players that want to be here for Tottenham Hotspur and buy into the project. So I think that's quite a refreshing take.
But there's a flip side to that coin, because I get what he's saying. You don't want players who just want to come for Champions League football, because Man United have done that in recent years. You spend silly money. But what the Champions League football does do is it opens the door to players that will want to go to Spurs, but probably wouldn't be available to Spurs if they didn't have that draw, because it might be that maybe Man United want that player and Chelsea want that player, but then Spurs want that player because he's a good player, and they go, and we've got Champions League football, and that might just be the edge to get decent players that are good enough in for them. But it's a weird one. And look, this is what we love at the end of the season. And
also, it comes back to a point of like, what do you categorise yourself as? Would you say you're a football fan first or a Man United fan first? Well, you can be level, you can be joint. It's a tough one because for me, I'm a Birmingham City fan first and then a football fan. But when it comes into the level of this, obviously I'm a football fan because we're a League One team now. So the big story for me this week is I don't want Manchester City to win the Premier League, purely because the dominance, Premier League's most competitive in the league.
Did you see the Scottish League? 13 out of 14 or 12 out of 13 that Celtic are about to win?
Yeah. I mean,
and we're heading towards that.
I mean, we come on here every week to try and save football, but
can't
that might be
football.
We can't save Scottish football.
We can't do it.
We'll go up there next year.
If Iron Brew want to sponsor us, though, we'll have a bloody good go. I tell you that, Jimmy.
Yeah, well, they won't do that now you've done that. But what would you say you are? There's no wrong answers.
No, there isn't a wrong answer. And what are you? Are you a football fan or a fan of your club? I think passionately, when I think about the 99 treble and the winner in the new camp, and I think about all the success, there's no greater feeling than your team winning. So I think, yes, naturally I'm passionate, but then I think about that's football and this podcast, and I'm a massive passion for football as well. So I think that these sort of conversations give me a lot of, when you're talking about something, you get really passionate about it. Like, I'm really passionate about this Spurs thing, even though it's got nothing to do with me, and not because I don't want Man City to win the league, because I'm sort of putting myself in that Spurs fan thing, and I'm thinking the Champions League is better for you. Yes, look, speaking experience, Man City won a treble. I'm still here. I'm still loving football. It's not nice, but also, we were at Solihull Moors last week. It wasn't nice for Seb to see a penalty shootout loss, but it's character building, and you can't avoid Arsenal winning the league. In some ways, it might be good for Spurs for Arsenal to win the league, because it might be like, well, they've done it. Yeah. Why can't we do it? So I think those things are very interesting. So I'd say probably club first, just because of the enjoyment of it and how passionate you are. But football is. I love just delving into different conversations. Also, I'll give the facts on what Will sort of hinted at. If you are a little bit worried as an Arsenal fan or a Spurs fan, 1995, Manchester United, final day of the season, needed to beat West Ham, and Blackburn needed to lose to Liverpool. Blackburn were managed by Kenny Dalglish, who only 6 years previously had been a manager of Liverpool and a legend. Blackburn at Anfield, Liverpool, Man United's biggest rival. We went to West Ham, and I was absolutely convinced there is no way that Liverpool are not going to let Kenny Dalglish's Blackburn beat them. And they did. Liverpool beat Blackburn. Fortunately, Man United drew at West Ham, so Blackburn still won the league. But if we'd have scored a late winner, we would have won the league courtesy of Liverpool.
And also, everyone's very nonchalant about the last day of the season. But like Manchester City have been involved in.
Who have they got?
They've got West Ham at home. But you go to the.
Sorry, West Ham.
But was it last season or the season before when they played Villa and Villa were winning?
Well, QPR.
And QPR is the most famous example of that. And obviously they've gone on to win that. But I don't think it's such a foregone conclusion that Manchester City are going to beat West Ham.
Look, we gave David Moyes a 6-year contract. He earned big money out of that. Yeah. And we sacked him after 8 months. You still owe us 5 years, mate. We'll write it off if you can go there.
Yeah, exactly. Arsenal I wanted to touch on a little bit as well, because...
Well, yeah, go on. All I was going to say is, because people will say Man City title sham as the title. And I think what we're really talking about there is that it does make a bit of a... Look, I'm not blaming Man City for this in any way, shape or form. It is what it is. But I do think there is a bit of a a sham and it's happened before, and we probably are really bad at it as fans and as people who talk about football in identifying this at the start of the season when we're all buzzing our tits off on predictions and everything like that. But we probably should have looked at Man City Spurs at the end of the season and gone, that could work out how it is. That could well be.
It wasn't even supposed to be here, was it?
No,
rearranged one.
Yeah, well, yeah. So even then you wouldn't be able to predict it, but it does happen a lot. And I think when you look at the title, it's so tight. Even Liverpool could look at it and go, we're only 6 points off the title. We could have had a penalty because of Michael Oliver, but also that Aston Villa have given Liverpool a game, Arsenal a game.
Well, that week, wasn't it, when they beat Arsenal and Man City at Villa Park?
And Man City got a free 3 points. I mean, I know Villa fans, and they were like, yeah, it was a gimme because we had Bournemouth at the weekend, which was more important. We had a few injuries, and we just sort of went...
They still played well in that game, though.
But it wasn't Villa. It would look, as I say, I'm not digging Man City out. They played Villa at the right time. And then they've got Spurs tomorrow, and we'll have to see how it goes. But
I don't think the title's not coming because of that.
I just sort of disagree. I do think that
you don't play 38-game season and look back on.
But how many gimmies have Arsenal been given this year?
Well, I haven't got that information
because they haven't been given any. Every game Arsenal have had to play, they've had to work hard. They haven't been to Wolves. There'll
be decisions that have gone their way.
I'm not. Well, let's not get into VAR. What I'm talking about is I can think of 2 games in the last 6 weeks where Man City have basically played 2 teams that have gone. I mean, look at Fulham at the weekend.
But that's what I wanted to come on to.
Old Pereira
as well.
walking around with his beach towel. Look, you're going to get those. No, the Fulham game's a bad example, but
then also with that as well, it goes.
But Man City getting Spurs and Villa. As I've said before, Man City are a juggernaut. They're way better than everybody else. They've had a few decisions go their way. They don't need to play Spurs and Villa, who are not quite up for it. But then, that's the fine margins.
Even last season, though, Arsenal's running was, I think, slightly more favourable than it was that has been.
Arsenal's running has been the hardest this year.
But then you look at last season when they were doing it, and I didn't have the experience that when they had that Southampton game at home. Southampton got relegated, and 3-3 it ended up being, and that was all down to their own fault. So ultimately, we shouldn't be having the points totals that we are doing. And I know where you're coming from with Arsenal deserve the title, but I do think.
Well, I don't know what else Arsenal could do.
No, exactly. But we were just chatting where's the width? They'll probably keep Raya. Back 4, Timber's probably going to come in at that left back area. Left back. Rice and Partey and Jorginho coming in have been great. So Odegaard's been phenomenal. Saka has been brilliant probably for about 80% of the season. There was a little bit of a drop-off, wasn't there? So it's just trying to find where they did last year, where they bought Rice.
Striker,
we need striker, but then is Havertz that sort of new Firmino, and then so are they looking for a winger replacement?
I'd still bring a top striker in.
I'd bring a forward in.
Yeah, just to mix it up a bit. But look, honestly, we spoke about the Premier League last week. We have got a big problem. I think that there is an issue around. We do it as fans, but do you think in football in general, clubs see Man City roll into town and treat them the same they did Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal? I still think Man City, I know fans have it, but I think in football in general, I just think Man City are sort of I don't know what the word is for Man City. It's almost like they don't get treated the same as an Arsenal or a Man United. So I don't know this because they're a new club that they've not built up these rivalries. But I see Man City go to places across the league season, not just in the last few weeks. I know we've got Spurs tomorrow, and the Villa game was just sort of like, let's leave it. But Man United, obviously as a Man United fan, if we went to Wimbledon or we went to Stoke, it was a massive cup final game. And I think with Arsenal, you detect that. I think Man City, 6 titles out of 7 if they do it, 4 in a row, 3 in a row, treble, whatever. It's amazing. They're a juggernaut. They're the best team. They've got 2 players in every position. They've got the best manager. They've got the structure. They've got the money. They could deal with Man City coming to town. Let's bloody get at them. But there's just something about Man City. And I know Pep struggles with this as well. And I know their fans won't admit it. But Pep's admitted it. There's just something about Man City. The media treat them the same way as well. They just can't seem to bridge that gap of, it's not integrity. It's Man City. It doesn't. It's
like becoming like a behemoth, isn't it? Like
they're dominant without the aura,
the grandeur of it.
The grandeur or aura of people. Oh, we've got to beat them. There's an indifference. There's an indifference towards Man City.
I could sum it up by saying if there is an FA Cup draw and now we're League One Championship team, like you always like. I'd still want Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal. There'd be some other big teams in there that you'd want before Man City. One, because it'd be inevitable that you lose, but 2, it's just like. I know Old Trafford is falling down and there's a waterfall coming through it, but there's still something. I don't know.
Maybe they have got to support. You know, you look at Craven Cottage; they're all doing the Poznan, apart from Noel. He didn't want to look back in anger. That's been done, but plenty of times. But it's like there is that indifference towards them, and look, Man City fans will be going, "Oh, bitter, salty." No,
but it's the next generation as well. I played that charity game at the weekend. There's this dad with his young lad, and I was like, "Oh, is he a Blues fan?" He was like, well, I'm trying to get him into a Blues fan, but he really likes Man City, and that's to be the next generation.
I have said that a few times. That's what I mean about all these Man City fans who'll be moaning.
We'll be the next Man City.
If Man City keep winning, naturally in 20 years' time.
Well, I was a Man United fan till 98, 99, and I've said before we won the treble, and I said, look,
I'm out.
I'm an objective guy here. I'm 7 years old. I said, this is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
And I was right.
You were right. I stuck with them because it's my club. But
exactly.
But I think I think you're absolutely spot on. I think if Man City do keep dominating, at some point they will start to get that. But it's a weird thing, isn't it, in football where you have this indifference towards Man City, and I think they benefit from it. I mean,
no, I get it. Now you've laid it out like that. There is, even from like my perspective of who I support, there is still that.
Well, look, prime example is that Villa game where they rock up to the Etihad. The best performance I've seen against Man City this season was the Villa Park game. They had more possession, more shots. They beat them 1-0. They go to the Etihad, and they had a couple of injuries, to be fair. Martinez was injured, but they also left some key players on the bench because they've got Bournemouth at the weekend. Now, did Emery do that 2 weeks later against Arsenal? No. And why didn't he do that? Because the Arsenal game mattered more to him and Villa. Why? Because it's Arsenal. Yes, he managed Arsenal, but there seemed to be more.
Maybe you can get more. Maybe he felt like he could get at Arsenal before.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's an indifference to City. On another level, then, do teams look at Man City and go, "They're too good"?
Yeah.
In which case, we're never gonna close the gap if Unai Emery is looking at Man City and going, "No point, lads. We'll keep some players back for the weekend." Arsenal, there's 3 points. That's an even bigger problem.
But also. And there's always so much chat around Pep.
Because they are too good, aren't they?
Yeah, but this is what I mean. But there's a reason they are too good, and you've outlined all of them. But one of them is Pep, because you don't get the opportunity.
If Arteta was in charge of Man City and Pep was in charge of Arsenal,
I'd say Arsenal would win the league.
No,
I 100% would.
No,
because
you're wrong.
No, I'm right. There's an.
Let us know in the chat. That's the poll, and that is the real quiz.
That's the real quiz.
That is the poll. No, that is going to be the poll.
Yeah, okay.
I think you've got to say it because don't just move on like it's.
I'm not moving on. I was going to read.
You've not made a good point.
Yeah, I have made a good point.
I've told you be more confident. But no, I think you are right because Arteta's pushing Pep really close with Arsenal, and we know the Man City squad is. I mean, that's my argument. The squad of Man City is just, I mean, look at fucking hell. If this isn't an example of the problem with the Premier League, Vardiel, who I thought was a brilliant player at Leipzig as a centre-back, comes in and plays left-back, and I think he's a bit of a weakness. And lo and behold, again, Pep sort of goes, because he's able to do it, stick at it, mate. Keep learning how I want you to play. And the last few weeks, he could probably take left-back from our Premier League team of the season last week. I mean, some people said, why wasn't he in it? Basically because he didn't start the season well, but based on the last 3 or 4 weeks, I mean, he could have been the first Premier League defender to get a hat-trick at the weekend.
But but the stuff around Pep, I think, is important because it's very easy to be dismissive of it, and I get people going,
he's a great coach.
He's a great coach because you don't get the opportunity to do what he did at Barcelona and be there as long as he did without doing what he did. Same with Bayern, and like, I know it was a long time ago now, but you look at their drop-off this season. So, nothing to give in football. And with what he's doing at Manchester City, I think what you were speaking about with Vardiol, like that's highlighted at the weekend when he starts at left back, sort of inverted full. I'm going to get torn apart, so I'm out of my depth there talking about inverted full backs. Basically sees a weakness, gets put onto left wing, ball gets played in behind, and Pep sort of like, he is a chess master, isn't he? Sat on the side.
So methodical.
And where you've said Manchester City are a 6, 7 out of 10 this season, but maybe that's where Pep's become a 10 out of 10 because how many times have we said, Man City, they've not replaced Gundogan, they've not replaced this person, the seniority's gone out the team, yet still here we stand, they're probably going in top on the last day.
Well, we're going to talk about United and what Rooney and other people have said about players not wanting to play because they're injured. That won't happen at Man City.
No.
I don't think Man City...
But that's a philosophy, that's a culture as well, isn't it?
I think when they won the treble last year, and look, I've said this, I don't know what other people think, I don't know what you think, so get in the comments again. Man City were obviously fantastic last year. I thought they were good the year before. This season, even with De Bruyne back, I still don't really think I've watched Man City for 2 months and gone, wow, they're purring. to coin a phrase off you. I think it's been a very functional season from Man City, and that's scary because I think they've got gears to go up and they're probably still going to win the league.
But does that not tie into what I'm saying about the coach being the more prominent
100%, because I think what he's done, he is, like Sir Alex did, and I suppose Klopp to a certain extent, Pep has and does, and I don't like some of the attributes of Pep. I don't like some of his on the pitch where he slags his own players off. But what he has done and why it works is he might be there with Grealish basically saying you played crap or Haaland, but they won't dare go against him by leaking or putting a tweet out, because he runs a ship of authority and fear. And if you think about someone like Ruben Diaz, who is a big player for them, if he felt his calf and was like, oh, I can play at the weekend, but I fancy a couple of weeks off, go Euro Disney or whatever, he knows when he comes back, Pep will go, well, I've got a Kanji playing there better than you at the moment. You're out. So to
and how many times you see in that City team of like John Stones, great couple of years, then, is he going to sign? He's back. It's like there's so many ebbs and flows with them teams.
And people are playing off pure fear that they don't want to lose their place. And then when you've got basically two top/world-class players in every position, I mean, Alvarez is a bloody good player and he's considered a backup player for Manchester City. And also, Vardiel, very, very good. Not a great start to the season. Brilliant end to the season. Next season, he'll be even better. At some point, he's going to move to centre-back and he'll be absolutely brilliant. 90 million quid.
Yeah.
90 million quid for a guy that they can go, just take your time, settle in. Doku again, settle in. They've got this conveyor.
Even like Mateus Nunes, or not even, how many minutes
But it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's a conveyor belt. It's almost like they spend the money on a... Grealish first year was crap. Second year in the treble was very good. They can spend £100 million on a player and go, take your time. We've got players here that will look after you. You just take your time. Trust. You've got to learn how I work as a manager.
But also what's been really nice, and there was a lot of rhetoric coming out after after they beat City, was around like, this is the danger, and it's not coming... Again, it was one Twitter source that's spouting louder than the other about just saying like Claudio Ancelotti was just a people manager. And right, but you can have all the tactics in the world, but that performance against Manchester City was like, you've got to play what's in front of you, haven't you? There's, we've come on to Burnley in a bit, and they're just trying to play this philosophy no matter where and no matter when. But like, that's why the Don, not Robbie, Carlo Ancelotti, is still that, because
that's why we'll talk about United in a minute, but he's the only guy who I would take at Man United, because I think that Man United need I don't want to change the manager, but if he was available, I would, because what he gets
he'd work on the culture
teams,
as well, wouldn't he?
Oh, just probably the best man manager there is since Sir Alex Ferguson, because that's what Sir Alex was all about. Whereas Pep is a man manager and he's a technical coach as well. And I think, just going back to that before we move on, about would Pep beat Arteta if you swapped clubs? Well, it's dismissive to Arteta because
you're dismissive to Pep.
Well, this is why I think it'd be interesting, because I think that Arteta, what he's done at Arsenal without the tools, you've got to say, well, what could he do with that squad? But on the other hand, I also agree that if you put Pep in an Arsenal team, Pep's never going to do it. He's a silver spoon manager, isn't he, unfortunately?
Yeah, but why would you do it?
No, but
you wouldn't go backwards in your job to prove a point.
No, well, I would.
Would you?
If somebody said to me, do you want to take on...
this YouTube channel, right, you're earning this amount of money, you go to this YouTube channel, it's got 10,000 subscribers, no budget, do you want to go and do it? If
I was financially viable and it was a project that I thought, you know what, I'll prove everybody wrong. But that's just me. Pep's not the same as me.
You would not do that.
I have a better mentality than Pep Guardiola. Yes, I've got...
That's the clip.
Yes, I have got a couple of YouTube channels with millions of subscribers. Yeah. But if somebody offered me, if I was content and the bank balance was good, and somebody said, here is a channel that's got 700,000 subscribers and we want you to take it to 1 million, I'd go, you know what? You know me well. I like that sort of challenge.
That's Pep Guardiola. I'm saying, would Pep Guardiola go in at Birmingham City in League One next season?
No, but what I'm saying is I would like to see Pep Guardiola take a...
Man United.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that he's got to take another job in the Premier League. I'd like to have seen him go to Arsenal instead of Man City. I think that would have been a really nice job to see him do. What I'd like to see Pep do, and I've said it before, it's like Messi. I'd like to see Messi in the Premier League. He doesn't have to do it. He's still a world-class player and Pep's still a world-class manager. But if there's any criticism of Pep, it's that everywhere he's been excellent, but they've been, Barcelona with very good players and money, Bayern Munich with very good players and money, Man City.
And also,
I'd love to see him, because I think he could do it. I'm not criticising him. I think if you gave Pep, what would a job be in European football at the moment?
The one that the fans are going against, AC Milan, a former giant. Could you really turn it around, bring back Syria?
Yeah. What about
Real tough one. Could he do it at PSG? Could he win the league there?
Oh, I tell you what, I think we could win the league there.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be great content. Could he win the Champions League with PSG? Probably. I tell you what, in the Premier League, because you've got to talk about what you know, Atletico Madrid in La Liga would be interesting. Could he break the Barcelona Real Madrid thing? But that is a lot of money for. I think Spurs. Could he take Spurs?
I was thinking Spurs. Yeah.
Spurs would be a good one.
But don't worry about that. He's got big hands.
Yeah. Interesting. But look, get your comments in. I still think Man City win this league, though, Will.
Yeah,
never
very
change.
frustrating for me, because we have a chat on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Thought we'd put it to bed, but again, you sat there in a T-shirt. You can tell it's summertime when Mark's bringing out the T-shirts, that Arsenal deserve to win the title. And you've really got to stop with this rhetoric.
It's true.
You haven't. It's not.
Do you know, man? Do you know what? Like Man City against Fulham. This 90 million centre-back who's at left-back just pops up with a brilliant 1-2, passes it in. What a goal. What a goal. But we shouldn't be... I watched it and I felt like, what a goal by Vardy. And then I went, oh, shit, I've already tweeted it. He cost £90 million. What do you expect? He's a £90 million
but even
player.
At that level, we've said it so many times. We've got to change our view on what £90 million is now. Because it's still up there.
It's more than what anyone else can play on a utility player.
You think Lavia, Caicedo, they were both over £100 million.
Yeah, Chelsea have changed the game, haven't they?
Yeah.
But I think there was some stat about Man City that since Christmas they've won. I think they drew with Arsenal, drew with Chelsea, drew with Liverpool, and won every other game.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want the Premier League to be like that.
No.
I think, and that's my point with Arsenal. I think they deserve it in the league I want to see. I want to see a league where Villa do go to Arsenal in April and beat them, because it makes it interesting. But the problem with that is that won't happen to Man City. Man City dropped their points before Christmas, and then they're a juggernaut after Christmas. And I want to see... People say it's been a good season for the Premier League. Has it really? Arsenal have just done absolutely...
Most goals we've ever had.
In the last few weeks, Arsenal have been to Molineux, Spurs and Old Trafford and won. And they still might not win the league.
As well.
Yeah, and I just think that... Look, we've given Man City a lot of praise, so let's take them out of the league for the moment. What a league table it would be. If it had been Liverpool and Arsenal going for the title, we'd have had a much better season. And I think Man City are just... It's a Premier League problem. There's a lot of Premier League problems. It's funny, actually, I was saying this on That's Football. We've got to be really careful when we start next season, because we get really excited about fancy Premier League and this, that and the other. But ultimately, when you look at it, this should be the promo for next season. And it's live. The Premier League, where Man City will have it won by April, where the 3 teams that come up will go down, where we'll get loads of injuries because we play too many minutes, where the VAR will destroy you week in, week out. And
where 115 still not been solved.
Where what? Yeah. And it's live. Get your money in, get your subscriptions. And I'm like, that's something the Premier League needs to solve, because it's not going to make any difference for the next year or so, but people are listening to this podcast and listening to everybody else. The Premier League is on a slippery slope. I don't want the Premier League to just be... Look, there's plenty of things out there in the world that are big names, but the quality's fallen off. I mean, can you think of stuff like that? We don't want to have a pop at any brands, really, but sometimes you get away on reputation.
Arctic Monkeys.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I mean, that you look at them. I'm a big fan of the first 3 albums. People say you can't live in the past. Number 5, 6, if they have got that many.
Noel Gallagher.
Well, yeah, but that's more your era, isn't it?
No, but the Oasis were brilliant. Last couple of albums weren't great. Individual stuff from Noel and Liam. People say they like it because they love Oasis. It's not that good. But my point is...
Do you know what they have that City don't have? They probably might have more of an aura.
My point is, the Premier League is the best league in the world because of the brand and the audience and the reach, but it's got major issues. And if Man City keep winning it, and they will, then what are we? The French League, the Scottish League?
Well, before we come on to the other problems of the league...
Do you think... Oh, quickly, I've got to ask you this.
Go on.
Was Noel Gallagher a prat for not doing the Poznan or a
massively.
hero?
No,
I
prat.
think he's a hero.
Oh, that sums it up.
It's the worst celebration.
It's just a
ever.
bit of fun.
No, I wouldn't have done it.
You would.
You and Niall would be there doing it. And I'd be like, leave me out.
If there was more people at the
I definitely
at
wouldn't
the
do
playoff final the other week, you'd have been doing it.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would have.
would
I'd
not.
have forced you to do it.
If that, I would not do it.
Yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't. No, I thought Noel looks cool.
You've had 2 or 3 beers, maybe 4.
Hey, it's a shit celebration as well.
It's just a bit of a laugh.
It's nicked from another club because you've got no identity yourself, and it looks
That's
wank.
Great Britain. We've nicked everything.
It looks rubbish. I don't often sing up for Noel because he's a City fan, but I thought it was absolutely legendary not to do it.
No.
He's hero of the week.
No, prat of the week for me.
Hero of the week.
Before we go on to the bits as well, which spoke a lot about Man City, we spoke a lot about Arsenal. The 2 favourites in the running for the PFA Player of the Year award are Phil Foden, and in second place is Declan Rice. I think Cole Palmer's third, but the odds are long off, and you should always.
Who's voting for it?
It's the PFA Players Award. Isn't it?
The players are voting.
Yeah.
And how do they know how each is doing?
What do you mean?
The odds are just there. Yeah.
I just went on odds checker.
It's not like we're getting votes. Some players are.
No, it's not.
I'm just playing golf. I'll do it later.
It's not like the guy on election night where they're coming
John
in.
McGinn.
Lancashire, famously a Foden territory. That's gone off the board. It's been wiped off.
I tell you what, this would be better than the general election this year, which we know Labour are going to win. Breaking news. But imagine if you did have like the election night, which I always enjoy, but it's boring.
Yeah. Well, no, when it comes to 10 o'clock and they go, the polls are closed.
Yeah, it'll be boring this year. But we should have a live PFA night, votes by club, right? The Nottingham Forest votes are coming in.
Yeah.
Normally a little bit thick. Normally just go with the boring De Bruyne option.
Yeah.
Is there? What's your votes? Do it like the Eurovision.
Well, that's I feel like we need something like that in football, because deadline day used to be like that, where you'd literally be on the edge of your seat.
It'd be brilliant. This is a great show, right? Eurovision. We want to do it for Premier League. This is how you can rescue yourself.
Yeah.
This sort of show. Me and Will will present it.
Yep.
And we'll get Stunt Peg in as well.
Yeah.
And basically, we'll go to each club live, and they get 10 votes, and their number one player gets 10 points. Okay, so we're going.
That's actually a really good.
It's
idea.
a really good idea. We're going to Arsenal. We've got Steve Bold.
Yeah.
It's got to be some crap.
Thank you for
player.
having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. And 12 points go to...
No points for Spurs again.
Yeah.
Oh, what a surprise.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Let's go to Old Trafford. We've got Dwight York there.
So you couldn't... So if you're Man United, you couldn't vote for a Man United player.
Yeah, which wouldn't be a problem this year either.
So you'd have to... But they obviously wouldn't vote for City players because of their rivalry.
Going to Liverpool, we've got John Barnes. Oh, look, no Man United player voted for again.
Oh, John, are you going to do You've got to hold and give, but give the points at the right time. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and everyone else is watching, like on the Eurovision where people start to, hello, everybody.
Yeah. Great
to be here from Stockholm where it is sunny and we have Volvo and everything else. And you're like, just get to the point, get to the point. Oh, this is a great idea.
No, actually, that's a very good idea.
And absolutely brilliant. And it's voted for by the fans of those. Well, how would you sort that out?
Online.
Yeah. But people would just scam from Liverpool onto Man United's vote. Oh, no, it's players' vote, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you do your players, each player votes.
Or you could do what they do on Eurovision with you have your judges' vote, your public vote, and then another vote. So you could just bring all the points together.
If you don't do this, Premier League, you're absolute idiots. You could make a 4-hour show out of it. You get bloody Coldplay to play at half-time.
Yeah.
And you'd get loads of interaction, and it's basically your system, but better. So you go to each club, and the players have voted, and we go, in 10th place with 1 point is...
I think the prize needs to be grander, though. Like, winning Eurovision's like a really big thing. So, like, could it be for, could you vote for the extra Champions League spot?
You're overcomplicating it. The Eurovision is an absolute
could be like the Hunger
political
Games.
Shithouse. This is actually Player of the Year evening.
Yeah.
They want Razmat. I mean, they've got Hall of Fame and they do it shit. WWE does it way better. This would be a great evening. If you don't do it, you're idiots.
I actually think that, I hate to give you praise, but that's a very...
Well, we sort of came up with it together.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's actually on camera, yeah. So
It's a great idea. If somebody
Maybe we could just do that ourselves.
If this... how would we get people to do it?
We just find fans of the 20 clubs, and then we can do they can cast a vote, right? And then we can do that's football vote, and then you put the two together. So you still get the... Hello, it's Ian from Bournemouth. We can't choose Dominic Solanke. We've chosen bam, and then put it together.
It'd be a lot better if the mainstream did it.
Yeah,
I'm trying to help them survive. We're trying to save football. We've just saved the main Premier League a little bit.
But back to the original point.
Yeah,
Declan Rice or Phil Foden? It's got to be Phil Foden, hasn't it?
Declan Rice or Phil Foden for Player of the Year. Look, I'm not going to be swayed. I'm still going to say Declan Rice because I think that to go for £100 million from West Ham, and also we talk about injury and how Chelsea, Man United, everyone, there's a lot to be said when you spend £100 million on a player that doesn't get injured. And Declan Rice doesn't get injured as well. I mean, I think that's become such an important thing this season in relation to injury, is that so many players get injured these days, and if it's worth another 40, 50 million quid to keep somebody fit. So I think Declan Rice, and I like the unsung hero a bit. I think being a holding mid, it's like when a centre-back has a good season and a striker has a good season. I always want to sing for that. So 100% I'd give it to Declan Rice. But in fairness, I'm excited about Phil Foden. I hope Southgate's going to release him more centrally in the Euros. He's probably playing the best football he's played in his whole career. But for me, the issue is it's that indifference again, isn't it? It's a Man City player playing well, and he has been brilliant, and I don't want to knock it in any way, shape or form.
You are.
But it's more integrity for Declan Rice to go and do what he's done for Arsenal than what Foden's doing for Man City in a team that's best team in the world.
But Phil Foden's took the next step in his career this season, and some of the goals, you think back to the Bernabeu.
He's had a good season.
He's not had a good season. He's had a great season, fantastic season, and for me, it's got to be him for an absolute shoe-in, because
I tell you what,
he's been integral in that team, which he has always sort of flirted around, but now he is the main man there.
It's interesting in 2024, isn't it, that the three major candidates for PFA Player of the Year are English.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's not always been like that.
It's just a shame we haven't got a defence.
Yeah, it is. Where to next?
Well, I wanted to look down the bottom of the table because we talked about the Premier League.
I want to talk about Man United.
All right, you do Man United then. No, we'll do Man United now.
Well, what were we going to talk? Oh yeah, Eric Ten-Hag. Yeah, so
lots to talk about with bloody Man United.
You brought this up yourself that.
You sound surprised when I keep bringing up points.
No, you said that Ten-Hag.
Basically, the pundits have basically had a big U-turn this week, and it's almost like there's a memo that's gone out from the Pundits Association. Yeah. Ferdinand, Neville, Rooney, Keane, give Ten Hag another year.
Yeah, and it's interesting. That shift has been very interesting, because I think predominantly for most of the season, the mainstream has been against Ten Hag, and I include ex-players in that. But it is strange over the last few weeks how, we've seen it with Mourinho, we saw it in the last few days of Ollie, we saw it with Van Gaal certainly, where there was this mistrust of the foreign manager, I suppose, or the manager that wasn't their mate, like Solskjaer. And it's very easy at the moment to sort of like say we need a manager change. And I don't know why it's changed. I mean, Gary Neville did an interview with Ten Hag. Maybe that gave him a bit of perspective, because he was talking about injuries not being an excuse, and now I think he's acknowledged it. Roy Keane's got no reason to change his mind, and he has. I was listening to the radio on the way in today, and Rio Ferdinand was on there. He was a little less committal, but he did say ultimately no manager's had a structure at Man United. I'd like to give him a little bit more time. When we lost to Arsenal yesterday, 14 losses in a row. Not in a row, 14 losses in the whole season in the league, which is probably one of our worst ever seasons certainly in Premier League history. Straight after that, normally thinking back to the Van Gaal out days and the Jose out days, Man United fans would be, get him out, get him out. 70% of our audience would keep Ten Hag. I'm Ten Hag in. I've been that for a while, simply because my feeling is that we need to remove the players, and you're not going to do that if you change the manager. And also, the structure's going to take a couple of years to sort out. I don't think it's on the manager. But I am surprised the weight of feeling, because there are reasons to, change the manager. But it's surprising. It's almost quite mature and not laid back, but pragmatic approach, which is not normal in football in any way, shape or form. Normally it is reactionary, get him out. You look at what West Ham have done with Moyes, he's been good for them, but we want good football. Whereas at United, there seems to be this widespread feeling now that Ten Hag should stay for another year. And it might only be for another year, the guy before the guy, but some stability.
But do you not think it's more of a depressing inevitability because of the lack of choice that's out there for the next one, rather than yes, I've seen over the last 2 months, this manager is the right choice because he's done this, this and this, rather than, right, there's no other candidate out there. The players have sort of been leading the way, so we want to give them a bit of a two fingers up, and we might as well keep him because there's nobody else out there. It's a bit like, right, I'm going to uni, I'm going to Oxford, Cambridge, the offers come through, it's Hull Polytechnic. I've not been bothered about uni, actually. I might just go and do a job for a year. I just think it's a bit like that.
Or you're in a marriage and you're sort of like, I don't ultimately think this is the dream marriage.
Right.
But I've been out to the nightclubs.
Yeah.
I've been on Tinder and the other one. And there's Grindr, I think it is.
There's Bumble.
Whatever. And there's nothing there. So I look at what I've got at home. Upstairs, not too bad. Downstairs, not too bad.
You're talking about your own downstairs, or
talking about the house?
Sorry.
It could be a metaphor for something else, I suppose.
Yes.
But yeah, there's not. I sort of do get that. And as I said before, I think if Ancelotti was available and wanted the Man United job, then you might go.
But do you not even next year? It just feels like he's walking into a season where we're going to have this exact same conversation at the end of next year. And hopefully there'll be some other people. Like there's but if you're saying he's staying now, you've got to go with what they've done with the other stuff. That you've got to say he is our manager for the next 3 years. Unless he catastrophically fails in these areas, we're sticking with him, because otherwise you're going to get this speculation next season.
But look, if there will be, whether they change the manager or keep the manager, there will be an improvement next year. Absolutely, 100%. Because you can't have. You're not going to get Rashford in Belfast. You're not going to get Sancho refusing to play. You're not going to get the club sold at Christmas and ignoring a January transfer window. You're not going to get all these injuries again.
Why?
Because you're not going to. It's been a cursed season, and Ineos have based. No, let me finish. Let me speak, Simon. Ineos have said what they're going to do, so this chaos cannot be replicated again. Now, you're right to play devil's advocate, but what I expect to happen, and this is why I wouldn't get rid of the manager, because everything I've just said is nothing to do with the manager. He didn't sell the club at Christmas. He didn't ignore the January transfer window. He didn't go out in Belfast. He didn't refuse to play, and he didn't, he didn't create the injury list, which is ridiculous. So what Ineos have to do is bring stability, remove players, sign better players, and put a structure in place that allows the manager and the players to progress. And I think next season we're not going to challenge for the league. We might not get fourth. Hopefully we will. But there will be an improvement regardless of who the manager is. And I think most of the change, and you can't change everything in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, which is the summer transfer window. What we need this summer is some of the bigger decisions to be made to provide that structure. And I think actually, if I was in charge anyway, and I was of a mind that I'm not sure about this manager, I would look at it like that and go, well, we won't have the injury crisis because I'll take control of that. I'm going to bring better players in. I'm going to remove some of these players. We're not going to allow players to be taking the piss, not playing and stuff like that. There will be a natural improvement because we'll improve 5 or 6 things that have gone wrong this season. And with the manager, I do want a little bit of continuity so I know what the problems are from this season, because we've got a new CEO, new technical director, all coming at the same time, and I want to start making things happen quickly. And look, if I see some of the same issues next season, I can change the manager, but I wouldn't do it now.
But how do you get stability? You get it by clarity, and I don't understand every position that has been up for grabs so far. They've changed, haven't they? Technical director, director of football, COO, like all those roles. There's a new person that's been brought in by them. The main one is the manager. So if it's not this season, it's going to be next season for sure.
Not necessarily.
No, 100% it is, because there's no way Ten-Hag is there.
But what if he's the guy before the guy?
But if
you're running a business and you know that to get to where Man City are, or where any other successful club is, it's going to take you 4 or 5 years. Stability is actually important in relation to, look at Chelsea. They tried to solve it all ridiculously quickly and it's gone wrong. And I think what Chelsea should have done is keep Thomas Tuchel. He might not be your guy in 2 years' time, but for that first 18 months, that was, look at what the mistakes they've made with Potter, Lampard. Poch is, we'll talk about Poch in a minute, but I just think that I would, and I don't think Neville's been told anything. I don't think Keane's been told anything. No. I think they're looking at it and going, probably the same as what I'm saying, is that for this first summer, I would be using Ten-Hag because he's got a lot of experience about what's gone wrong as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just more of
long term, you might be right.
Yeah, I just think that they're planning for this future, and they're getting all those stones in the right place for those people.
Also, if you sack Ten-Hag, and you bring in the wrong guy, you're not making progress for 3 years. You're going to step back, aren't you?
That's also true. But
so sometimes stick it in the gear you're in,
But I
waiting to overtake.
I think they are doing that. But I just think if you're Ten-Hag, I just think you're a dead man walking next year.
But if the result, look at Arteta.
True, yeah. But
I certainly think you might be right, but what I'm saying is, it's way riskier to get rid of him now. I think everything points to the fact that it's worth sticking for him because you can always sack him.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're also right.
Cheaper the longer it goes on.
Cheaper the longer it goes on. He's only got 1 year left on his contract, and circumstances right now are. I hate to say it, but I'm almost like when you get these United fans calling in or putting their comments in. Who are you going for then? Yeah. Southgate's basically said. Not till after the Euros.
What Neville said, and like we've said it as well, like there's no way you can appoint Gareth Southgate this summer. Like you can't be, as much as I hate the phrase "we're Man United," you can't be Man United waiting for England to go out the Euros and then he comes in. And also, like, if we don't win the Euros, it's a failure, and I'll say that, and I'm Southgate sympathiser. So what? He comes into Man United with the whole country hating him, the Man United fans hating him, just being like, you've had 13 years of a terrible shitstorm. Well, I'm here to save it. Even I wouldn't believe that, and I love the guy.
And also, if he does win the Euros, he's on a party for 2 weeks, so he's not going to come into a late July, in which case, that's a terrible start to the season. And
we know with the reason why Jurgen Klopp's retiring, like, you have to be all in. Like, you can't be thinking about what shirt you're going to wear for the title celebration.
And that's another reason why I'd keep Ten-Hag, is because even if you brought a new manager in the week after the FA Cup final, it's still the first week of June.
Yeah.
Like Maguire, McTominay, Rashford, Varane, Casemiro, all these players that you might consider moving on are not going to be back until the end of July. And you can't blindly sell a player because you might go, well, I've seen Maguire play and I don't think he's the one I want. But then someone goes, you know what though? What a nice guy and really good to have around. So, all right, I'll wait till the end of July to find out. Oh, shit, I can't sell him now. Well, this is what I mean.
The biggest thing that Sir
Players
Jim,
out is the thing.
That Sir Jim can look at in Ineos, and I don't know if it's a Dave Brailsford thing, is because of the success, Man United obviously on the telly more, and with the pundit, and like all the talk and speculation comes from their previous success, but then it's also their biggest hindrance.
Well, yeah, did you hear Roy Keane yesterday? He was like, I actually thought United played a lot better. I mean, look, we had 55% possession with a team of misfits against Arsenal who needed to win. Yeah. And loads of people were saying, well, Arsenal, Roy Keane said, those Arsenal players will be saying how easy it was and how they could have gone up for all the gears. Why didn't they then? Yeah. Because 1-0 into the last 5 minutes, it only takes a deflection and you fucked the league. Yeah. So if it was so easy for Arsenal, why were they so willing to let us have the ball and so willing to sit back? So I think a snowball gets bigger, doesn't it? And I actually think United, for a team of misfits, did okay yesterday, especially in relation to how they kept the ball. And for Arsenal, were inexplicably off. And they only scored a goal because Casemiro made a massive mistake. But also Roy Keane said after the game, he was talking about the style of play and, in his day. And I was like, in his day was actually 20 years ago. Yeah. Like, it is a hindrance. And, this is the worst ever Man United side. No, 2 years ago under Rangnick, it was pretty shit. The last few days of Ollie was shit. The last few days of Mourinho was shit. It's not the worst ever Man United side.
But that's why at the club where there's not this sort of siege mentality and like those leaks can get out and different people are saying different things to different outlets. And, you've only got to look at Anthony at Crystal Palace and the way he's crying again because he's playing left back. Like, if you're
what
not...
What about crying?
No, when he got told to play left back and he was having to go at the manager again and throwing his toys out the pram.
What, yesterday?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I've seen a clip on Twitter, so it must be real.
Bloody hell.
So, but
I know he did it in the FA Cup game, didn't he, against Coventry, I think.
Yeah, so if you've not got that siege mentality, like, if you have, you can weather those storms, can't you? Because you're like, right, we know what we're doing this. And that's why those 3-year plans have got to be in place. But then the backdrop is, if the manager's not going to be there for that plan, and the players are like, I know he's not going to be there, why am I going to back him when he's going to be out the door anyway?
I think football is just such a strange place at the moment, and it's hard to judge football now and when Sir Alex was there, which was a decade ago, because it emphasises the importance of the likes of Klopp and Ancelotti and Pep and even Arteta this season, but it also emphasises even more the importance of the structure above. Because the example I always use is that if you look at that Arsenal side and that Liverpool side and that Man City side, as we mentioned before, how do they keep 15, 20 players focused, not picking up injuries? I mean, the backdrop to this is Rooney said yesterday some of those players aren't injured. And I had someone message me saying, you said that 2 weeks ago and you got absolute pelters from the United fan base and they'll listen to Rooney. I said, yeah, of course they will, because he's probably been told that. Well, Souness on the radio today said he's been told it as well. And Jim White said, let him speak, Simon. Tell us, Souness, who these players are. And he said, well, hey, I've played the game. I'm not at liberty to do that. And he should. And Simon Jordan said, well, with all, I'm not going to do his voice, but like, it was like, I understand why Souness won't say it, but Rooney's said it as well. I've said it. I don't have, well, I'm not going to say why I've said it, but I don't necessarily have a dressing room source on it.
No.
But I think Rooney and Souness sound like they've got somebody telling them something. And I think that is a massive problem for the Man Uniteds and maybe other clubs, is that...
It's like Liverpool when they were doing they are perceived to be doing a lot better than they were, but in that period when it was Hodgson, Kenny Dalglish, like that was they were the laughing stock, weren't they? So I don't know, just in football and even what we spoke about at the top of the show, because we all love to be a bit negative, there's always going to be that fallen giant or that team where you're going,
But I think so much of it comes down to the structure. You know, you're a Birmingham City fan. We were talking before about what's happening with Birmingham next year, and they seem to be struggling with, they've got ideas, but there's not really anybody making decisions maybe at, level to, who's going to be here, who's not. And I think this is where football's changed, because you still get those fans who want to blame individual players or a manager. And football's not like that anymore. The structure above and footballers are little brands, little islands themselves with a lot more power. I mean, Souness said it himself. He wanted to stop doing management because the tail was wagging the dog.
Yeah.
And what he means by that is the players have too much power. So at Man City, where Pep Guardiola is, basically he'll sub Haaland off and he doesn't care. He can do that because they've got other options.
It's like Cancelo's the perfect. He was the golden child, wasn't it?
Brilliant player as well.
One argument gone. He's in charge. But that's the thing. If you're a fan, there is a blueprint out there to be like, there are clubs up and down the pyramid where the manager is controlled. So when you haven't got that, it's probably more frustrating because you can see it elsewhere across the football
pyramid. Look
at
Man United at the moment, and it could be your club. If Man United have got 9 players that, 7 or 8 are going to be back in 2 weeks because there's a cup final, they're not all injured. Rooney's right. Like 2 weeks. Unless if you've got a cruciate ligament injury and you're on the grass and they're saying you might just make it, it's different to calf strains, bit of a tight hammy. Like they could play. Yeah. They could play against Arsenal, and they're not because they're probably thinking about Euros or the FA Cup final. This is Manchester United. Like, this is Manchester United, and if this was Arsenal, they would play because they're in a title race. And
no, but they play because of Arteta.
Yeah, and the structure that's above it. And like Arteta's been at Arsenal and been able to go, Aubameyang, Obama who? He's the guy who's like talking to fan channels, massively popular, mates with Piers Morgan. Arteta goes in and goes, for whatever reason, he's not right. And the club go, right, we'll get rid of him.
But that's
But Piers Morgan's saying Arteta out, and the fans are saying Arteta out. We don't care. We want this player out because this is what our manager want to do. Man United have not done that. And Jose Mourinho is the prime example. One of the greatest managers of the last 30 years goes into Man United, says, there's 3 players here I don't want at the club. They're still here now. Yeah. Who won? Players or the manager? And that's the problem at Man United until they bring the structure in. Because Ben Foster was saying to me this morning about players that aren't playing. And then they were saying it on, I think Simon Jordan was saying it as well. It reflects on the manager when these players don't want to play. Yeah. But it doesn't if the manager hasn't got the structure above him to back him up.
And also the best thing of the clubs that you mentioned there is the structure of Pep, obviously. Well, he sort of sets that structure, but his relationship above perfect. Arteta and Edu and everything, so that's perfect. You look at Klopp, now where they're bringing Edwards back in and they've had the fallout. I don't know if that's part of his decision, but it definitely feels like it. So he's like, that's got to work perfectly. It hasn't. I'm leaving. And there's probably other reasons as well, but that's got to be part of it. So you need to have that. So is Eric Ten-Hag going to work well with Jason Wilcox?
Yeah.
And Dan Ashworth?
I think he will because he's done it at Ajax. But what you need to do at Manchester United is, because people will say, well, if players aren't putting a shift in or they're faking injury or they could play for the club, then just don't pick them. And that's a problem because that's what you saw against Arsenal and Palace. We haven't got the depth to do that. And if you look at those 7 or 8 players that are injured, and look, I know Martinez wanted to play yesterday. He's been out for most of the season. He definitely wanted to play.
I was like, oh, was it part of Golden Rule of Football Manager? Never sign a player that they say is injury prone. So I was like, oh, did that Man United sign Martinez and he had a terrible injury record? It was like, I think he'd missed 13 games in 3 seasons at Ajax, and he's missed 36 or 38 in just 2 seasons.
Bad luck, really.
Yeah, but there's got to be something in the medical department that's
100%. And but I think in relation to people trying to pin players potentially not putting their body on the line for the club is unfair, because the antidote to that is what Man City have got, what Arsenal have got, what Liverpool have got. There's a cup final in 2 weeks. I don't fancy playing against Arsenal, but I'll be back for the cup final. Now, if that's Man City and that's Jack Grealish or that's Kevin De Bruyne, you're like, so you're not playing against Fulham, but you'll be back next. Well, guess what? Phil Foden played really well at number 10, so he'll be starting the cup final, and Doku will be starting on the wing. Whereas at Man United, those players all know I'm walking straight back into that team. So
no, but I think the best thing you can do is almost what he has been doing with, like, if you start the cup final with Rasmus, Ahmed and Garnacho, you play Mainu down the back. Who's the centre back? The really young lad who's been playing.
Kambwala.
Yeah, Kambwala. You just say, well, I give a shit. And also as a fan, you'd go, yeah, I'd back that decision, because 1, we're investing in the youth, 2, I can get behind it, and 3, it's a 2 fingers up to the players that are on 300 grand a week and not doing anything.
But I hope in the sense of football, because all right, we're talking about my club, Manchester United, but I hope in the sense of football that this actually does continue, because I've been really pleasantly surprised. I don't have all the answers and I'm not always in the majority, but to see the majority of ex-players and Man United fans saying, stick with the manager this summer, let's focus on removal of some of these players first. It's a real mature, pragmatic thing to take, because it's a horrible situation watching United at the moment. Yeah. And that leads me on to the next thing. Do you think that this might actually be something that football fans are becoming a little less reactionary and a little more long-term, because they look at what Arsenal have done with Arteta, what Liverpool did with Klopp, and Man City to a certain extent? It wasn't success straight away. It was built on foundation and structure. We've been speaking all season about Eddie Howe, Eric Ten-Hag, Pochettino. We know Klopp's going. We know Moyes is going. How many of these managers do you think from the Premier League will actually lose their job in the summer? Because in past seasons, I think probably 4 or 5 might go, but we might be in a situation where, well, none of them go. We've spoken about Ten Hag. I don't see Eddie Howe going, even though they've had a very drop-off season compared to before. Pochettino, for me, I mean, I don't get the Pochettino
But when it
thing.
comes to, I think as a football fan, if you are pragmatic, which I think a lot of football fans are, like we said, the vocal minority are on Twitter, but I think a lot of football fans are pragmatic, because they go in it week in and week out. So like, if you're at Brentford and you see a Thomas Frank, like, what else is he going to do? Yeah. So and he's got he's got money in the bank now, hasn't he, in terms of what he's done with that club, so he's definitely going to stay and probably could go on to other things. With like an Eddie Howe, I was watching the interview with Gary Neville. When you actually think about it, like, they've been so restricted to what they can do in the transfer window. They've had a Champions League campaign and they're probably going to finish 6th. Well, that's fantastic. And this is coming from a team that have been awful. So
Man United, Newcastle on Wednesday as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got Premier League games this week. I mean, in fairness, if Newcastle go to Old Trafford and beat Man United 3 or 4-0, I can talk about Ten Hag, but like, that's the sort of game. Arsenal 1-0 with their misfits, okay. United have got a couple of players back at Old Trafford, and Newcastle wipe the floor with them.
But that's all you want as a football. You just want a progressive plan, isn't it? Or have someone that I mean,
Eddie Howe is the guy before the guy. If Newcastle want to win,
I really
the Premier League,
I really think there's a sense with Eddie Howe that he could take that next step.
Mate, I'd love it. I'd love it.
But that's why we've got. I think that's why we've got to be careful when we speak about. Not we've got to be careful. It doesn't really matter. But just having that faith that he can take the next step.
I don't think he can though. And I like Eddie Howe. I think what he's done at Newcastle from Bournemouth, it's a big club and it's got a big expectation.
But why can't he do that?
Well, because we haven't seen it happen. That's why.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's not a hipster foreign manager.
Yeah, exactly. You don't get the choice. But he's probably got all the attributes of a hipster foreign manager.
But somebody will do it at some point.
Yeah, I think he could generally be and the best thing with him, what we were speaking about with the other teams, his relationship to like Amanda Staveley and the guys that are bought in is good. So I genuinely think that he could take that next step.
I'd love him to do it. The only reason I just feel that there's nothing wrong with. I think Pochettino's the guy before the guy at Chelsea as well. I don't think Pochettino can take Chelsea to.
But
titles.
If you're a man, so Pep's going to leave in the next 2 years probably. Would you not be looking at an Eddie Howe to take over?
I'd love it if they did, but I just think stereotypically we don't look at English coaches like that. But he shouldn't be under any pressure at all. And I think Newcastle are in a similar position to Villa in the sense that everybody wants a goal-scoring striker, and they've got a striker that no one's going to buy because he'll cost too much money. So I think Newcastle 100% need to keep with Howe.
Got to sell though, haven't they? If you listen to that Newcastle fan.
Yeah.
We've not got to sell, Gabby! How many times?
Where's he from? Swindon?
No, he's from Geordieland.
One
manager...
Chelsea?
What?
Would Poch go?
No, he's done enough. He's just done enough at the right time.
But there's a lot... It's like, I don't know, what if we've got any Chelsea fans, let us know in the comments. What is the thing with Poch? 2 months ago, I understand it. You're around mid-table.
Yeah, but it ties into what you're going to say. Like, if stability is the way going forward and you can have a good end to the season and they could finish 6th, you go, right, I think we've had a new manager take over an absolute behemoth of a squad, structural change, money being spent everywhere. It's an absolute shit show. He's weathered that storm. He's put his imprint on it, and he's going into next season probably with a clearer 11, clearer positions he needs to replace, and a stronger base.
I think if I was the chairman or CEO of Newcastle, Man United, Chelsea or Brighton, whoever sacks their manager out of those 4 is a prat, because they're all in a very similar...
De Zerbi's been linked with a buy-in this morning.
But they're all in a... Well, that's a step up for him, isn't it? But they're all in a similar situation where they've all had horrific injuries and they've all got structural problems that stability is clearly going to help. And look, Chelsea in recent weeks have had some good results because they can put a team out where they've got a right back, a left back. It might not be their best back four, it might not be their best midfield, it might not be their best attack, but everybody's playing in a position, and lo and behold, a little bit of consistency when they're not changing their team every week, and surprise, surprise, they've started getting results. Newcastle as well, still loads of injuries, but predominantly been able to start putting the same team out every week. They've picked up results. Man United haven't been able to do that. They're getting beat. Brighton haven't really been able to do that. Been a bit sporadic. And I think that it's just, then you look at Arsenal, you look at Villa, you look at obviously Man City, pretty consistent teams all season, and it's led to better results. And I think that's a big learning curve. And I wouldn't sack any of those managers if I was the owner of those clubs. And I can't see any other club that's going to sack anybody.
No, well, and a manager, before we get on to Prat of the Week, that I think could take the next step up, and we're looking at the bottom of the table, Rob Edwards. I mean, there is a manager that
But what jobs are available?
Yeah, I just think he could take the next step because, I mean, the scenes that sort of reminded me really why I like football, because a team that's gone down, the fans are all behind them. They're pragmatic fans, aren't they? Like, they've known all season they're probably going to go down, thought they'd be 20th, got to the last game but one, where, well, I mean, technically they still can stay up.
20-0, is it?
Something like that, yeah. Never write them off. I've said Carlton Morris all season, haven't I? And he could
still win the Golden Boot.
Even the way he spoke about it, Rob Edwards had sort of tears in his eyes just because he was sort of sensing the emotion of the fans, and he felt like, I just thought that was really reminded me why I like football in this sort of horrible world of mercenaries and everything that we've been speaking about. I just thought they've really far exceeded what they should have done this season.
Really reminded me, actually, of how I said they'd go down all season, and I've been proven right.
Yeah, well done. Yeah, what do you want? What do you want, a relegation medal?
I said they'd get relegated. Look, harsh reality, I'd like to have seen Luton stay up. Harsh reality, they weren't good enough, and Sheffield United and Burnley were even worse. I mean, Burnley even got themselves into with the chance of actually pulling off Mission Impossible, and then just can't get results. And I think that when I look at Burnley, Sheffield United and Luton, and then Leicester, Ipswich and whoever else comes up, are we really going to see anything different? Look, Forest had points deductions.
I think we will next season, because the teams I don't see who goes down. They just get stronger every year. Yeah, but these teams are coming with a stronger base.
Maybe one.
Basically, Leicester... let's take the points deduction off because we don't know what's going to happen now. Basically, Leicester are coming up with a Premier League team and a strong base.
I've said it for a long, long time. Striker. If you can bring a striker up... You think about when Brentford came up with Tony. Fulham, I think, came up with Mitrovic. You can't buy one because you can't go, hello, we're new to the Premier League. We want to people won't go because they'll go, quite rightly, like I am. If I'm a decent striker, I'm not going to go, I'll sign for Leicester because I'll be thinking they might go down. I'll sign for Fulham. So you've almost got to come up with the striker. Yeah. And that's very difficult to do. But then the other options are Leeds and Southampton. And if they come up there, again, they are a Premier League team in the Championship.
But then
I think they're good now.
if you got a Norwich, who they're on the second year of parachute payments, West Brom have been down there for ages.
Well, West Brom and Norwich are the quintessential yo-yo, aren't they?
Yeah, but even they've not been. Well, Norwich have been yo-yoing for a bit.
I mean, look, Ipswich are going to be next year's Luton. I'd love them to stay up.
But that's exactly because I've got Vincent Kompany down for my Prat of the week, but that ties into being Prat of the season because I think the game against Tottenham is the reason why they've gone down. Where it
won't change.
There's this really small window where everything clicks and they get the goal, but they can't maintain that performance for the whole season, let alone the whole game, and then it just ends up blowing up in their face. And it's great to have a philosophy and be able to stick with it, but ultimately you've been relegated for sticking with that.
Look, you can't have the donut without the shit.
What?
A donut will end up being a shit.
Right.
The enjoyment of, pleasure of a donut will ultimately end up with you wiping your arse. Yeah. That's the way it happens. And the people like
the sugar rush that
the Sean Dyches and the David Moyes might get stick, but not everybody can be a donut in the Premier League.
No, but I think we're getting our modern, like Rob Edwards.
What I'm saying is Sean Dyche kept Everton up and kept Burnley up for years, and his football wasn't great. Kompany comes into the Championship and goes, I want to play like this. And actually, for year one, he should have been a little bit more pragmatic in certain games, and you might have got another 5 points, which might have kept you up. I don't know whether it did.
But then the big thing is, how do you solve parachute payments and the gap between the bottom of the Premier League to the top of the Championship? And I think this season is an anomaly because of the size of the clubs that came down. But next season, you're going into a Championship where the strongest teams will be Burnley, Luton and Sheffield United and whoever else is kicking around in the Championship, not us. So then that's where it'll rear its ugly head again.
Look, next, as we said, there's a few problems in the Premier League. There's too many minutes been added on, which is causing too many injuries. The officiating is absolutely shambles. Man City are going to be, whether they win the league this year, which I think they will, I certainly think they're favourites next year. And I think the three up are the three down. And people keep saying, well, Leicester, but I'm like, give me a team that's going to go down from the Premier League. You've got. If you're going to keep one of them up, you've got to take someone down.
Yeah, but I think if a Brentford lose,
they've still got a lot of good players.
No, I know, yeah. And that's exactly why next year we're really proud to announce that we're starting That's League One, an in-depth football channel focusing on League One.
Birmingham and Wrexham.
And
that's the real quiz.
Prat of the Week, I think we've already done quite a few nominations.
Yeah.
I put Vincent Kompany out there.
And Noel Gallagher.
I've put him out there. Anthony, I've already put out there. The one we haven't spoke about is Jason McAteer for a double nomination.
Well, he is my head and shoulders, if we were sponsored by them.
Great brand.
Prat of the Week. I mean, look, I don't have a lot of experience of McAteer, and maybe some of you do. I know on ESPN there's some very bad pundits.
Not ESPN.
No, I know he's not. I'm just saying, I don't really watch ESPN, but a lot of people talk about like Shaka Hislop and Steve Nicol and Craig Burley. But this was BN with Keys and Gray, which says a lot. I do sympathise with international viewers.
I do sympathise with Richard Keys.
Now, that would be a podcast. We could have put it in the title. Goldbridge sympathises with Keys. Well, I think that I do sympathise with the international viewer in the sense that the punditry isn't always great in the UK, but I think you really do get the rough side of the paper there because it's... they wouldn't get a job in the UK. It's crap. And basically, McAteer, for point one, his criticism of Ten-Hag was the suit he was wearing, which I just think is bordering on bullying, if I'm being honest. It's just absolutely incredible.
It does feel like that when you got Keys and Gray like cackling alongside.
Well, also McAteer in the '96 FA Cup final looked like somebody who'd had jizz all over him. It was horrific. So for him, I just don't get that. And Keys and Gray cackling away absolutely horrific. And you have to pay for that, I presume. It's disgusting. But I enjoy it because it always means that we might be cultish, but podcasts like this will thrive with prats like that talking about that. But there was a second part to it.
Yeah, he also was saying that he had a conversation.
Was he on a walk with his dog or something?
Yeah, he was out and about and he had a conversation with a current Man United player who was basically alluding to that Eric Ten-Hag was going to go and that he quite liked Gareth Southgate.
I thought he alluded to it was going to be Gareth Southgate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said, didn't I?
No, I thought he said he quite liked Southgate. Like,
Sorry, quite, yeah.
You know, the way I read it is that McAteer was out and about. He saw an ex-United player or a current United player. Current United player who was basically saying it's going to be Southgate, which is just...
But it's like having a private conversation and then go, oh, I won't say anything. Right, I've had a chat the other day with a guy, but I can't tell you who it is, and he's told me all this information, and he's not going to want me to say it, but I'm going to say it. But it's just like, just have a bit of fucking common sense about yourself.
Well, also, I saw the clip and I felt like, you know, if I had a big banner saying this didn't happen, I'd walk along the back going, this didn't happen.
I want it to be like, you know, with those, when they show the Premier League rights, it goes like, this region is not allowed to show this. Well, just have it with the punditry, because we shouldn't be allowed to see that, because it's absolutely awful.
I mean, look, it's just, as I said, I sympathise with international audiences who have to watch that shit. I mean, look, Keys and Gray aren't allowed on TV over here for a start, so it tells you a lot about the sort of quality of guest that they might get there. But Jason McAteer, what's he famous for? Being elbowed by Roy Keane?
I mean, you don't have to play shit with shit. Like, Jason McAteer had a good Premier League career.
Did he?
Well, yeah, better than ours. But
definitely better than us.
Doesn't mean he's a good pundit.
But like, it just comes across as like when Rooney said that about the injury stuff, you sort of it has a place in reality, and you can sort of imagine that he would have knowledge about that as well. Whereas McAteer basically saying, I was walking my dog, I saw a United player and they told me it's going to be Southgate. A few issues with this. You haven't got a dog, and I doubt you know any United players who would talk to you.
And you live in Qatar.
I mean, if you're a current United player and you see Jason McAteer, you're not about to go, I'm about to leak one of the biggest stories of the summer.
Yeah.
Jason McAteer, you are my vessel.
Thank God I've seen you, Jason.
You're on with Keys and Gray at the weekend. Even better. Right, this is a world exclusive. Southgate's going to be the United manager. I'm leaking this from the dressing room to you, Jason McAteer. What's that, Rio? No, fuck off. I'm talking to Jason McAteer. Yeah. And also, there is no way anyone in that dressing room knows that Gareth Southgate is going to be the manager of Manchester United.
No, if you're Jim Radcliffe and Dave Brailsford, the last thing you're doing based on the track record that you've seen is leaking anything to the players.
Yeah, and undermining the manager. And also, I think Southgate's come out and said that he's totally focused on the Euros this morning. Yeah, I think it's got to be McAteer. But mainly, the story of what that is just nonsense and hilarious. But you almost wonder if they're, I mean, I don't know. The average...
It's like when they had Peter Schmeichel on the other week and they were all like, oh, Peter knows someone who's in the... he thinks Thomas Tuchel might be the right man. And it's like, what are you doing?
I think, look, I've been on, not that show, but I've been on some shows, and there is someone in your ear. And it's almost
but it's
they're going, this would be a really good clip for us. Can you talk about this? And Jason's going... Before the show, Jason's going, never happened. Never happened. Haven't even got a dog. And I don't know any United players. Jason, just do it. Do you want your fee? Do you want to come on again? Keep that, and this is Keys. Do you want to come on again? Andy, tell him. Hey, yeah. You want to come on again? Yeah. No. All right, I'll do it. I'll do it. Sound like the guy with the responder.
Not watched that any good.
Martin Freeman. Oh, he's all right.
You watch a new season of Clarkson's Farm?
It's very good.
Very good.
Very good. Prat of the week, McAteer.
Yeah, I'll shake your hand on
Mainly
that.
because of the suit thing. I don't like that.
No, I
He's
agree.
a manager. Whether his fashion sense is good or not, I don't know what I think about the brown suit.
You've got to be John Paul Gaultier. Is he a fashion man?
Yeah.
Is he?
Might be dead.
Okay, you've got to be...
Ralph Lauren's dead.
Britain's next top model?
He is? Google it, Niall. You've got a computer. Ralph Lauren's dead.
I've seen a picture of Winston Churchill recently, but he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a terrible... Yeah. Ralph Lauren. Go on, carry on with what you're talking about.
No, Ralph Lauren is a frequent commenter in the Spotify comments, actually. So he put a Prat of the Week in this week, was actually Jason McAteer.
If he ain't dead, Wikipedia, Ralph Lauren is 84 and not dead.
Oh, apologise then. Correct the statement.
Depends what year you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. It's evergreen.
Yeah, it's evergreen content.
Right, he's chirped up already, so it must be time for...
Quiz of the Week.
Yes, it's time for Quiz of the Week. Producer Niall, is he getting too big for his boots? We don't know.
He's got a point, though. Got Ralph Lauren right.
Yeah, he's got Ralph Lauren. Actually, he was doing a correction to save us before, and it's a good job it's not live, so thank you, Niall.
All right, so the first question is, when was Ralph Lauren established?
Oh, yeah!
He's learning already. The Goldbridge magic does wear off. Could be Will magic.
No, shoot.
Okay, so 5 questions each, a bit like a penalty shootout. If I miss, Will would get a chance to take my point off me and vice versa. Do you want to start off with Will this week because he's winning?
Yeah. So how many titles have ended on goal difference?
Oh,
Premier League.
Yes.
Oh,
just Premier League. On goal difference, don't feel like there'd be that many. I'm going to go for 3.
Incorrect.
1.
Correct.
Yay! I did him with the fingers.
Oh, blimey, yeah. No wonder why we're excited for the
See
quiz.
what I did on camera? If you're not listening, I was there going 1, 2,
Which
3.
one was it? The Man United, Man
Yeah,
City?
I knew it was 1, but I was trying to get you to go higher than 1. And it worked.
And can I just say I'm very excited this week to participate in this quiz, aren't you?
I'm really excited to be in this because I need to win.
Yeah.
It's one that Will's doing well at, and I don't like that.
When it comes to actual knowledge, that's when I thrive.
Okay, so 1-0 to me. I've stolen a point, and it's my first one.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So what is the fewest amount of points to win the Premier League?
Oh, these questions are good. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's to do with the end of the Premier League. I would say the fewest amount of points to win the league. Oh, I'm going to say, can we have it to the nearest thing to jazz it up a bit? No, he's saying no.
I've got
No, but if your guess is closer than
feel
mine.
like,
no.
I feel like to the nearest 10 is like kind of obvious.
No, not
nearest
10. I meant point.
No.
Oh, right, okay.
What's
We
the-
will never get it. I'm going to say 74.
I'll give you a clue. He's pretty close.
Okay. The number in my head was 72.
75 is the correct answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's still higher than
So
I
I
thought
get a
it was
point
going
for
to
that?
be. No, you don't get a
All
point
right.
for
But
that.
it's a bit hard to get that exactly right.
Yeah, but that's the quiz.
All right, okay. Your one.
One question each.
Well, it was
1-0
Man
to
United, so maybe I thought you.
Yeah.
No, but I'm not that. I've got a life. I do go out drinking and stuff. I'm not one of them people who are like, oh, it would be this year where we scored so many goals. There will be people out there who know it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be listening to this podcast though. We're a bit more cooler than that. But,
Right. As soon as you say we're cool, we're instantly not cool.
Yeah.
Right. Question
We're
2.
niche.
Yeah. Question 2 for me. 1-0 to Mark.
Okay, so how many times has the title been decided on the last day? Bit of a theme going through.
So Manchester City,
This is a tough one, actually.
Man United when they beat Spurs for the treble.
It's gonna be quite high, I think.
I'm gonna say 11.
Incorrect.
Oh,
I'm gonna say 15.
Also incorrect.
How
It is
many?
9.
Oh, I nearly went
So
9.
point for me because I was
No,
closest.
it's off. Still 1-0.
So I thought you guys would be able to gauge this better than me. My next question was actually going to be, can you name 3 of the seasons that ended on the final
I've
day?
just given him 2.
Or should we do, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
go
carry
to
on. The
5?
quiz is the quiz.
The quiz is the quiz. Can I name what? 3 of the what?
3
years?
of the, yeah.
3 of the years and the team that won.
Well, I know 94, 95 was Blackburn.
Correct.
I know.
I've just literally told you
I wasn't
2.
listening. I don't listen to you.
Yes, you do.
I know. I'm not going to be able to get this. I know.
You literally just said 2.
I know, but I can't fucking think. Oh, I can actually. I've got it. So I should get. I just thought
Yeah.
Man United, you dickhead.
Yeah.
So 94, 95 Blackburn, 98, 99 Man United,
Yep.
and I'll go. Oh, let me get this right.
Oh yeah.
11, 12 Man City, Aguero.
Correct. Yeah.
Get in!
Well done.
2-0.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can give you loads more actually. I remember Man United doing it against Wigan in 08.
Man City did it against Villa, obviously, that we were speaking about the other day.
Yeah, Man City have done it 4 times.
Manchester
We've
City
got a load of
versus Brighton on the last day of the
Yeah,
season.
Chelsea in 2010.
Yeah. You're doing all right there.
Yeah.
I can't think of
All
United.
right, so
There was a
1-1.
No, 2-0.
2-0 to Mark.
Yeah.
Third question for me.
Can you name the highest current defender in the Premier League? Not this season,
what?
overall.
Height.
The highest.
Highest scoring
Oh, I was going
Oh.
to say height.
Premier League defender who's currently playing in the Premier League. He has 22 goals.
From this season.
No,
He hasn't-
altogether.
Altogether. So like of all time, it's like John Terry's the highest scoring.
So
So what defender
Yeah.
currently playing?
So he's currently playing.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I know he's currently playing.
22 goals.
He's currently playing. And he's
currently playing.
He's scored 22
Not
goals.
retired.
I'm going to go for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
That is incorrect.
Oh, 22 goals, currently playing.
And he's currently playing.
22
I've
goals.
always had one person in my head, but I don't think it.
Go
I don't
for
think
it.
I don't think
This
it
is a free hit for you. You two.
I know. I'll go Van Dijk.
That is correct.
Oh, 3.
Fucking hell.
Go with what you think. 3-0.
I was shooing with Trent.
Well done to whoever said in the comments last week. You need to get more excited about the quiz because now I've got excited. I was always going, tired end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening now. 3-0.
This means everything.
Question what for me?
3.
Fucking hell, this could be a battering.
So lowest points to survive relegation.
Oh, now I should be well versed in this conversation.
Lowest points to survive relegation.
I don't know if I should do a bonus point if you get the team in the year.
I think I know the team. Was it West Brom?
It was West Brom, but we'll keep with the point.
We know the year.
We'll keep the competition. We'll just go with the points.
No, you're a bit
tally.
younger, but it's quite an infamous.
I'm going to say 24.
No, incorrect.
No, I'm going to go West Brom 2004-5 season.
You're not getting any extra for that.
A lovely year. It was a hot summer's day.
It's foreplay when you're talking to yourself.
I'm going to go with 30 points.
34.
Oh, 10 off. Bloody hell. Okay. Question 4 for you.
Question 4. So I need to basically get everyone right and steal from you.
Right, this is lucky this question's landed on you, to be
fair.
fair.
God.
So
who's the current captain of Birmingham City?
So who is the highest scoring defender this season on FPL?
Points-wise?
Yeah.
Oof. Now, to let the listeners know, I've had a shocker. Obviously, I was top of 2 leagues. Put a wild card in for a bench boost. Got on the train, forgot to press bench
Answer
boost.
the question. It's easy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Is it?
Yeah. I thought Niall had given you a hint.
I'm going to go for...
I'm questioning.
I'm going to go for Ben White.
I've got Saliba down here.
Shit! Well, you've just given him the answer.
Oh, it's all right. Shit. I don't need it. It's all right. Carry on. You can only draw now. Keep it alive.
Saliba.
I wouldn't have said Saliba anyway. I was going to say Trent.
Right. Who have Leverkusen just overtaken with their unbeaten record?
Oh, what of all time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was.
This is for Mark, isn't it?
Yeah. But he ain't going to get it right.
Is it Real Madrid?
Nope.
Is it Sporting Lisbon?
It's Benfica.
Oh, God!
Question 5 for Will. I've already won 3-0.
Shitting bastard.
Right, okay. So, as we all love Solihull Moors over
we
it.
do. Another terrible loss in penalties.
So,
Football's
what was the final score and penalty score for the FA Trophy?
Yeah.
2-2 in the game.
Yeah.
5-4 on penalties.
Yeah, well done.
Correct. Well done.
Yes, got a point there.
And second question for that round for you, Mark.
Yeah, second question is, I played in a Birmingham City charity game. Can you tell me the final score, who scored, and the penalty scorers?
Yeah, piss off. I've won anyway.
Yeah, it's literally like name all the goal scorers again.
From that game?
Yeah.
You don't care now.
I don't know. And they had a striker who scored 2 goals for them up front. Beck, was it?
Yes.
Should have needed him in the playoff.
I've got no idea who scored for Gateshead. No. Brown, was it one of them?
Yes.
I can't remember who scored the first one.
Move it on. You've won the quiz.
Yeah, we're losing the excitement.
Smith.
What is it? His last question.
No, I've done it. 3-1.
No, yeah, you.
Mark has one, but there's only like the decider question left now.
Yes, do it for a laugh.
You do that, and then if I get the decider question bang on, I get a point.
All right, 3-2 then.
No, you've got a question now.
No,
I'm sorry. Yeah, forget it.
Just do the decider for a laugh.
Forget you on.
How much money has Arteta spent since being appointed?
According
to the nearest million.
What do you mean according to who?
What's your source?
I don't give my sources.
Oh, we don't care. Just get a number out. I'm going to say Arteta has spent 330 million.
I'm going to say Arteta has spent 331 million.
Wanker.
It's 576.
Wow.
No wonder he's been successful.
Have they not won anything?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bottle jobs.
Thanks, Niall. Great quiz. That was your best quiz so far, I think.
Great podcast as well. Get your comments in. Keep spreading the word. And we're building something very exciting. Really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Really good conversation.
It's nice to chat to you.
Good quiz as well.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Speak to you on the next one.
Bye.
Smash a like.